Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Captain Nora Reeves rubbed her tired eyes as she floated toward the communication hub of the ISS Horizon. Earth hung like a blue jewel below, serene and peaceful from this distance. 3 years into her command of humanity's most advanced space station, she had settled into a comfortable routine. "Captain, you might want to see this," called Lieutenant Thomas Wilson, his voice unnaturally tight. As the station's communications specialist, Wilson was typically unflappable. Nora pushed herself across the hub, catching a handhold beside Wilson's station. "What am I looking at, Lieutenant?" "This signal, ma'am, it appeared 40 minutes ago." Wilson pointed to an oscillating pattern on his screen. "It's not matching anything in our database, and it's strong, incredibly strong." Nora studied the pattern, a chill running down her spine despite the station's regulated temperature. "Origin." "That's the thing," Wilson said, pulling up another screen showing a stellar map. "It's coming from beyond Neptune's orbit and it's moving fast." "Natural phenomenon?" Nora asked, though she already suspected the answer. Wilson shook his head. "The pattern repeats with mathematical precision. It's definitely artificial." "Alert mission control. I want a full crew meeting in 10 minutes. Nora pushed away from the console, her mind racing. First contact protocol had been established decades ago, but no one ever truly expected to use it. By the time the 7 crew members assembled in the central module, speculation was rampant. Dr. Olivia Reed, the station's exobiologist, could barely contain her excitement. "If this is what we think it is," she said, her British accent more pronounced with emotion, "this changes everything we know about our place in the universe." "Let's not jump to conclusions," Nora cautioned, though her own heart was pounding. "Dr. Jimenez, what's your analysis?" Dr. Marcus Jimenez, the crew's astrophysicist, projected a series of calculations onto the main screen. "The object is moving at approximately 0.15 15% of light speed. That's impossible with any propulsion system we've theorized, let alone built." "So it's not one of ours," Lieutenant Commander Ben Davidson stated flatly, voicing what everyone was thinking. "No," Nora confirmed. "Mission Control confirms no Earth government has anything remotely capable of this." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "It's decelerating," Wilson added. "At its current trajectory and speed, it will reach Earth orbit in approximately 72 hours. Nora took a deep breath. "All right, we have first contact protocols for a reason. We need to prepare for every contingency." Over the next 24 hours, the ISS Horizon transformed from a scientific outpost to humanity's first line of communication with whatever was approaching. Every instrument was recalibrated to gather data on the approaching object. The signal continued, unchanged in its rhythmic pattern. "I think I've found something," Dr. Reed announced during their second briefing. "The signal's mathematical sequence, its prime numbers, first 25 prime numbers in sequence repeated over and over." "A universal language," Dr. Jimenez nodded. "Mathematics would be recognized by any technologically advanced species." "So they're intelligent and they want us to know they're coming," Ben summarized grimly. As head of security, his thoughts naturally turned to potential threats. Nora agreed. "The question is, are they announcing their presence as a courtesy or a warning?" By the 48-hour mark, telescopes across the solar system had captured images of the object. Sleek and obsidian, it resembled a massive arrowhead cutting through space, surrounded by a faint blue glow. The vessel, for it was clearly a vessel, was enormous, nearly 2 kilometers in length. The world below had erupted into chaos. Religious leaders proclaimed everything from salvation to doomsday. Stock markets crashed, then strangely stabilized as humanity collectively held its breath. Military forces worldwide went on high alert, though everyone understood the futility of resistance against something so advanced. Captain Wilson called out during the night shift. The signals changed. Nora, who had barely slept, was by his side in seconds. "How?" "It's responding to our broadcast." After initial contact, they had transmitted a simple mathematical sequence in return, hopping to establish basic communication. "They've replicated our sequence and added the next logical numbers," Wilson explained, his voice trembling with excitement. "And there's more, they've begun transmitting what appears to be simple pictograms." Dr. Reed analyzed the images. Basic concepts: star, planet, water, life. They're establishing a communication baseline. "Or they're gathering intelligence on what we know," Ben countered, "figuring out how primitive we are before they arrive." Nora silenced the debate with a raised hand. "Continue the exchange." Dr. Reed worked with Wilson to expand our responses, include basic planetary data, atmospheric composition, the essentials they'd need if they plan to enter our atmosphere. As the alien vessel crossed the orbit of Mars, governments on Earth finally unified in their response. A global defense initiative was hastily formed, pulling together the planet's best scientists, linguists, and military strategists. The ISS Horizon was designated as the primary contact point, with Nora suddenly finding herself the de facto ambassador for all humanity. "We're receiving a new transmission," Wilson announced as the vessel approached lunar orbit. "It's different." The screen filled with intricate symbols that flowed and shifted. "It looks almost like instructions," Dr. Reed suggested, her eyes wide. "For what?" Nora asked. The answer came moments later when the vessel abruptly changed course, angling toward the station rather than continuing to Earth. The massive ship, now close enough to block out the stars behind it, began to slow. "They're matching our orbit," Dr. Jimenez reported, his voice hushed with awe. "They'll be alongside us in 20 minutes. Nora stared at the approaching Leviathan, its surface now resolving into intricate patterns that seemed to shift and pulse with internal light. The decision she made in the next few moments would be the most important in human history. "All personnel to designated stations," she ordered, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. "Activate all external cameras and sensors. Dr. Reed, prepare the linguistic first contact package. Ben, stand down any defensive measures. We can't risk appearing hostile." As the alien vessel drew closer, dwarfing their station like a whale beside a minnow, Nora addressed her crew one final time before contact. "No matter what happens next, remember this moment. Everything changes today. We stand at the threshold of a new era for humanity." The alien ship extended what appeared to be a docking apparatus, a bridge between worlds about to be crossed for the first time. "They're coming aboard," Wilson whispered, as the station's external sensors detected movement from the vessel. The first alien visitors to Earth were about to make their presence known, and Captain Nora Reeves would be there to greet them, for better or worse. Admiral Jackson Hayes stood ramrod straight before the wall of screens in the Pentagon's Crisis Command Center, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. 30 years in the United States Space Force hadn't prepared him for this moment. No simulation, no training exercise could have prepared anyone. "Status report," he barked, eyes fixed on the central screen showing the alien vessel now hovering near the ISS horizon. "The object maintains position 500 meters from our station," reported Commander Grace Ortiz, his tactical officer. "No detectable weapons activation, but our sensors can barely penetrate their hull material. And our assets." 6 space-capable interceptor squadrons on high alert, orbital defense platforms armed but passive, ground-based kinetic deterrence tracking the vessel. Grace paused. "Sir, if they decide to attack, our calculations suggest we'd last approximately 7 minutes." Jackson grimaced. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." The secure line beeped, and the president's face appeared on the largest screen. Behind her stood representatives from Russia, China, the European Union, and India, the world's major space powers united by unprecedented circumstances. "Admiral Hayes, your assessment," the president asked without preamble. "Madam President, the vessel appears to be making contact with our station. Captain Reeves reports attempts at communication. So far, the visitors have made no overtly hostile moves." The Chinese premier leaned forward. "And what if this is merely reconnaissance before an invasion?" Jackson answered carefully. "Possible, but unlikely. A civilization capable of near-light speed travel could have eliminated us without warning if that was their intention. Or perhaps they want something from us," the Russian president suggested. "Resources, biological samples, specimens." "Speculation helps no one," the president countered. "Admiral Hayes, implement contingency protocol Theta. I want defensive measures in place, but nothing that could be interpreted as aggression." After the call ended, Jackson turned to his staff. "You heard the president, full implementation of Theta protocol." Across the globe, military assets quietly mobilized, not for immediate attack, but for rapid response if needed. Evacuation plans for major cities were reviewed. Scientists at key research facilities secured their data. The world prepared for the worst while hoping for something miraculous. In his private office, Jackson studied the latest transmission from Captain Reeves. The aliens had extended what appeared to be a docking mechanism toward the station. First contact was imminent. His private terminal lit up with an incoming call from Dr. Vanessa Parker, Director of Xenolinguistics at SETI. "Admiral, we've been analyzing the signal patterns," she said without greeting. There's something odd about them. Explain, Jackson said, his attention sharpened. The mathematical sequences they're using there too, convenient, almost as if they've studied how humans would expect aliens to communicate. Her dark eyes narrowed. It's like someone read our first contact playbooks. You're suggesting what exactly? I don't know yet, but I'm concerned they may understand us far better than we understand them. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. Jackson rushed back to the command center where chaos had erupted. Admiral Grace called out, "The vessel is deploying smaller craft." The main screen showed 5 sleek objects, each about the size of a fighter jet, detaching from the mothership. Their obsidian surfaces reflected the distant sunlight as they moved with impossible precision. Trajectories, Jackson demanded. That's just it, sir. They're heading to different points around the globe: Washington, Beijing, Moscow, New Delhi, and Brussels. The capital cities of the 5 space powers. Jackson's blood ran cold. Are they armed? Unknown, but they're moving too fast for our intercept capabilities. Estimated arrival in 20 minutes. Jackson immediately reopened the line to the president. "Madam President, we have a situation. Recommend moving to secure location immediately." For the next 15 minutes, the command center tracked the alien craft as they descended through Earth's atmosphere, somehow evading detection by conventional radar. Their heat signatures were minimal, suggesting advanced shielding technology. "The Washington craft has changed course," a technician called out. "It's heading directly for the Pentagon." "Evacuation Protocol Alpha, now," Jackson ordered, but even as the words left his mouth, he knew it was too late. The building trembled slightly, but there was no explosion, no attack. Instead, all electronic systems momentarily flickered. "Sir," Grace whispered, pointing to the center of the room. A column of shimmering blue light had appeared from nowhere, coalescing into a vaguely humanoid shape nearly 7 feet tall. Security personnel drew their weapons, but Jackson raised his hand. "Hold fire." The light solidified, revealing a being unlike anything from Earth. Its body was covered in what appeared to be a liquid metal exoskeleton, shifting and flowing with each movement. Where a human would have a face, there was only a smooth, reflective surface that rippled like mercury. "I am Zerith," a voice echoed in their minds, though the being had no visible mouth. "Emissary of the collective." Jackson stepped forward, instinctively standing between the alien and his personnel. "I am Admiral Jackson Hayes of Earth's Global Defense Initiative. Why have you come to our world?" The being's surface rippled. "Your species stands at a precipice, Admiral Hayes. We have observed your development for centuries. Now a decision must be made." "What decision?" Jackson asked, keenly aware that similar scenes were likely playing out in the other capital cities. "Whether humanity joins the galactic community or is quarantined." Murmurs broke out among the staff. Jackson maintained his composure. "On what criteria will this decision be based?" "Your capacity for cooperation in the face of extinction." The being Zerith extended what appeared to be an arm, and a holographic display materialized in the air. It showed a massive object hurtling through space, its trajectory unmistakable. "An extinction-level asteroid," Zerith explained. "It will impact Earth in exactly 183 of your days. Your detection systems will discover it in approximately 40 days, giving you insufficient time to mount an effective defense with your current technology." Jackson stared at the projection, mind racing. "And you're here to help us." "That depends on you. The 5 nations represented in your Global Defense Initiative must unanimously agree to work together. No deception, no hidden agendas, no separate plans. Complete transparency and cooperation. Lord, or we will depart and return when the next intelligent species evolves on this planet." Before Jackson could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. On the main screen, the mothership near the ISS horizon was moving, descending rapidly toward Earth. "What's happening?" Jackson demanded. "A demonstration," Zerith replied calmly, "to verify our claims." The massive vessel entered Earth's atmosphere without any signs of friction or heat, defying all known physics. It positioned itself above the Pacific Ocean, then released a burst of energy into the water below. Satellite imagery showed a massive column of water rising, then freezing in place. Billions of gallons suspended in defiance of gravity, forming a perfect tower reaching toward the stratosphere. "We can manipulate matter and energy in ways your science cannot yet comprehend," Zerith stated. "The asteroid can be diverted with minimal effort on our part, but we will only do so if humanity proves worthy." The water column suddenly collapsed back into the ocean, causing minimal disturbance as if gently replaced. You have 24 hours to convene your world leaders and reach a decision, Zirith continued. We will provide evidence of the asteroid's existence and trajectory. What you do with this information is your test. The being began to shimmer again, preparing to depart. Wait, Jackson called out, why test us this way? The alien's reflective surface rippled in what might have been the equivalent of a smile. Because, Admiral Hayes, the galaxy is filled with wonders and terrors beyond your imagination. Those who cannot unite to face extinction are not prepared to face what lies beyond their own atmosphere. With that, Zirith dissolved into light and vanished, leaving Jackson and his staff in stunned silence. On the screens around them, reports flooded in of identical encounters in the other capital cities. The mothership ascended back to its position near the ISS horizon, its message delivered. Earth had 24 hours to decide its fate. Jackson straightened his uniform and turned to his communications officer. Get me the president and prepare the Global Defense Council chamber. We have work to do. The greatest test in human history had begun, and Admiral Jackson Hayes found himself at the center of it all, wondering if humanity's long history of conflict and division had prepared them for this moment, or doomed them to failure. Dr. Liam Westfield had spent 15 years developing Earth's first contact protocol. It was meant to be theoretical, an academic exercise funded by optimistic government grants. Now, hunched over a terminal in the hastily assembled Xenolinguistic Communication Center outside Geneva, he was watching his life's work being put to the ultimate test. They're responding to the cultural exchange package, announced Tessa Nguyen, the brilliant linguist who had been flown in from MIT the moment the alien ship appeared. Her fingers flew across the holographic interface, dark eyes intense with concentration. The symbolic representations are aligning with our mathematical models. Liam nodded, his pulse quickening. Good, very good. Are they using the shared cognitive framework we established? Yes, but they're expanding it exponentially. Tessa pointed to the incoming data streams. They're not just responding to our communication attempts, they're enhancing them, building on our primitives to create a sophisticated exchange system. It's like teaching a child to count and having them solve calculus equations an hour later. Around them, a team of 30 specialists, linguists, mathematicians, anthropologists, and psychologists, worked feverishly. Their underground facility, originally built as a particle physics laboratory, had been converted in less than 24 hours into humanity's primary communication hub with the alien visitors. Dr. Westfield called out Dr. Jabari Oak, the Nigerian semiotician who specialized in nonverbal communication systems. You should see this. They're transmitting a new type of data package. Liam hurried over, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. With the world's government scrambling to respond to the ultimatum delivered by the emissaries, his team's work had taken on an urgency that transcended mere scientific curiosity. The screen displayed complex patterns that shifted and morphed, reminiscent of neural networks, but with an alien logic underpinning their organization. It's beautiful, Tessa whispered, joining them. I think it might be their version of cultural exchange, art perhaps, or philosophy. Can we interpret it? Liam asked. Jabari shook his head. Not directly, but I believe they're not expecting us to understand it completely. They're establishing rapport, showing goodwill by sharing something they value. Liam made a decision: send the music package. The team had prepared diverse representations of human artistic achievement, everything from Bach to Bollywood, from West African rhythms to Mongolian throat singing. If the aliens were sharing their culture, humanity would reciprocate. As the data transmitted, Director Victoria Roman entered the facility. As the United Nations Special Envoy for Extraterrestrial Affairs, a position created just yesterday, she carried the authority of all 193 member nations. Progress report, Dr. Westfield, she demanded, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun, eyes sharp behind frameless glasses. We've established basic communication parameters, Liam explained. They're intelligent beyond our comprehension, Director. They seem to process and adapt to our communication methods almost instantly. Have they explained their ultimatum further, the asteroid threat? Not directly, but... A chime interrupted him. On the main screen, new data appeared, a direct response to their musical offerings. It's harmonics, Tessa said with wonder in her voice. They've analyzed our music and created something that bridges their mathematical patterns with our musical scales. The facility's speakers came to life with sounds unlike anything human ears had ever experienced, haunting tones that seemed to exist in dimensions beyond conventional hearing, yet somehow deeply moving. They understand art, Jabari said softly. They understand beauty. Victoria remained focused on her priorities. That's fascinating, but it doesn't help us with the asteroid problem. Can you ask them directly about their intentions? Liam hesitated. Director, we're building trust. First contact protocol emphasizes. We don't have time for academic niceties, Doctor. The Security Council is deadlocked. The Chinese are suspicious that this is an American trick. The Russians think it's a ploy to force nuclear disarmament. We need clarity, not alien music. Before Liam could respond, another alert sounded. The alien vessel was deploying a smaller craft headed directly for their facility. What's happening? Victoria demanded. I don't know, Liam admitted. We didn't request direct contact. Security personnel flooded the room, weapons drawn. Outside, they could hear the whine of fighter jets scrambling from the nearby airbase. No, Liam shouted. Tell them to stand down. We can't risk appearing hostile. The next few minutes passed in tense silence as they tracked the approaching craft. Unlike the emissary vessels that had visited the capital cities, this one moved slowly, deliberately, broadcasting a continuous signal that matched their communication protocols. They're asking permission to land, Tessa translated, looking up from her terminal. They're sending what appears to be credentials. 3 representatives wish to meet with us directly. Victoria was already on her secure line to the UN Security Council. After a tense conversation, she turned back to the team. Permission granted. The Swiss government is clearing a landing zone 1 kilometer from here. Dr. Westfield, Dr. Nguyen, you're with me. 30 minutes later, Liam found himself standing in an empty field, surrounded by armed security personnel trying to look inconspicuous. Beside him, Tessa clutched a tablet containing their complete communication records, while Victoria stood slightly ahead, the official representative of Earth. The alien craft descended silently, a sleek teardrop of material that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. It hovered momentarily before settling gently on the grass without disturbing a single blade. Remember, Liam whispered to Tessa, protocol suggests we allow them to establish the greeting parameters. I've studied your protocol for 15 years, Liam, she replied with the ghost of a smile. I know it better than you do. A seam appeared in the craft's smooth surface, widening into an aperture. 3 figures emerged, all different from the emissary that had appeared in the world capitals. The first was tall and spindly, with 4 limbs that seemed capable of bending in any direction. Its skin was a pale blue that pulsed with internal light. The second was shorter, stockier, with what appeared to be an exoskeleton of interlocking plates colored deep crimson. The third defied conventional description, a shifting mass of transparent tissues through which complex organs and structures could be seen moving and pulsing. We greet you in peace, the tallest one said, though no mouth moved. The words formed directly in their minds, accompanied by emotions, curiosity, caution, and something like hope. Victoria stepped forward. On behalf of Earth, we welcome you. I am Naviri, the tall one continued. This is Kelthar, indicating the crimson being, and Zeuum, gesturing to the transparent entity. We represent the Galactic Conclave. I am Director Victoria Roman. With me are our communications specialists, Dr. Liam Westfield and Dr. Tessa Nguyen. Liam was struck by how matter-of-fact this all seemed, as if meetings between different species from across the cosmos happened every day. Perhaps for them, it did. Your musical offerings were received with appreciation, Naviri continued. You are a species of depth and contradictions. We have many questions, Victoria stated firmly, primarily about the asteroid you claim threatens our planet. All will be addressed, Kelthar responded, its voice deeper, resonating in their bones rather than their minds. But first, we must establish trust. Trust? Victoria's tone was skeptical. You arrive unannounced, threaten us with extinction, and demand global unity as a test. That hardly fosters trust. The transparent being Zeuum moved forward. When it communicated, the sensation was different, like concepts and emotions flowing directly into their consciousness. Understanding requires context. Context requires history. We bring history. Images flooded Liam's mind. Planets destroyed, civilizations collapsing, species vanishing. Not from asteroid impacts, but from their own actions: war, environmental collapse, resource depletion. Then came other images: worlds thriving, species evolving together, incredible technologies and achievements that made humanity's greatest accomplishments seem like a child's first steps. The conclave has existed for 50,000 of your years, Naviri explained as the visions faded. We have witnessed the rise and fall of over 300 spacefaring civilizations. Those that survive their own development stage, the stage you are currently in, follow a pattern. They learn to cooperate before facing external threats, Kelthar continued. Those that cannot unify internally cannot survive externally. So there is no asteroid, Victoria asked sharply. The asteroid is real, Naviri confirmed. We did not create it, but we detected it long before your instruments could, and we recognized an opportunity. An opportunity, Liam found himself speaking, to test us with extinction. Not test a catalyst. The word concept from Zeum carried layers of meaning. Acceleration, transformation, awakening. Your species stands at a crucial juncture, Naviri explained. Your technology advances rapidly. Your capacity for both creation and destruction grows exponentially, yet your social structures remain fragmented, competitive, suspicious. The asteroid presents a threat that no single nation can address alone, Kelthar added. It requires global cooperation, resource sharing, and trust, qualities essential for any species wishing to join the galactic community. Tessa stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming protocol. And if we succeed, what then? For the first time, the aliens showed what might have been amusement, a ripple of color through Naviri's skin, a clicking sound from Kelthar, a swirling motion within Zeum's transparent tissues. Then, Dr. Nguyen, we welcome humanity to the stars. With membership in the conclave comes access to knowledge, technology, and protection, trade routes, cultural exchanges, scientific collaboration. And if we fail, Victoria asked the question they all feared. We will not intervene, Naviri stated simply. The asteroid will impact Earth. Civilization as you know it will end. Perhaps in 10,000 years your descendants will have another opportunity. The brutality of the statement hung in the air between them. We require proof of this asteroid, Victoria demanded. Verifiable scientific evidence that our own scientists can confirm. Already transmitted to your astronomical facilities, Kelthar responded. Your scientists are verifying the data now. You will have confirmation within hours. Liam's mind was racing with implications. This isn't really about the asteroid, is it? It's about what happens after, whether we can maintain global cooperation beyond an immediate crisis. Perceptive, the immediate unites easily, sustained unity difficult. We will depart now, Naviri announced. You have questions to discuss among yourselves, decisions to make. We will return in 20 hours for your collective answer. As quickly as it had begun, the meeting ended. The three aliens returned to their craft, which rose silently and disappeared into the clouds. Victoria was already on her communicator, reporting to the UN Security Council. Tessa was rapidly documenting everything they had learned. Liam stood motionless, staring at the empty sky. First Contact Protocol had never accounted for this scenario, aliens arriving not with conquest or benevolence but with a test. A test that humanity, with its long history of division and conflict, might be uniquely unprepared to pass. Liam, Tessa called, breaking his reverie. The data from the astronomical observations is coming in, the asteroid is real, and it's exactly where they said it would be. Humanity had less than 20 hours to do something it had never managed in thousands of years of civilization, come together as one species with a single purpose. The countdown to either a new beginning or a final ending had begun. Commander Darius Wright had never imagined his first real combat would be against aliens. 8 years as a fighter pilot in the newly formed United Space Forces, countless simulations, 2 orbital skirmishes during the lunar territory disputes, none of it prepared him for this moment. Phantom Squadron maintain formation, he ordered, his voice steady despite the adrenaline surging through his system. Weapons tight, I repeat, weapons tight. Copy that, Phantom led, acknowledged Lieutenant Farah Kazmi, his wingman, though I still don't understand why we're escorting rather than engaging. Around them, 11 other XF-92 Star Wraith fighters maintained perfect formation, their sleek hulls gleaming against the blackness of space. The Earth hung below them, a fragile blue marble that suddenly seemed very much worth protecting. Orders are orders, Phantom 2, Darius replied, though he shared her frustration. We're here to monitor the situation, not start an interstellar war. The situation had deteriorated rapidly. While global leaders debated the aliens' ultimatum, a new development had thrown everything into chaos. 3 hours ago, a second alien vessel had appeared, different from the first, its design angular and predatory, where the conclave ship was elegant and curved. All units be advised, came the voice of Mission Control. Unknown vessel is on approach vector toward Conclave mothership, maintaining escort distance only. The new arrival had ignored all attempts at communication. According to hurried briefings, the Conclave representatives had appeared alarmed by its presence, describing it only as an interested party that was not aligned with Conclave objectives. In other words, Darius thought grimly, someone who doesn't want humanity to pass this test. His tactical display highlighted the newcomer designated bogey. It accelerated toward the Conclave mothership hovering near the ISS horizon. Energy spike from Bogey Prime, called Lieutenant Hassan Malik Phantom 4, they're powering up something big. Before Darius could respond, a brilliant beam of golden light erupted from the angular vessel, striking the Conclave mothership. The larger ship shuddered, its smooth surface rippling like disturbed water. "Control, are we clear to engage?" Darius demanded, his hand already moving to arm his weapons systems. A tense second passed before Admiral Hayes' voice responded. "Phantom Squadron, you are authorized to protect the Conclave vessel. Rules of engagement, defensive posture only. I repeat, defensive actions only." "You heard the Admiral," Darius called to his squadron. "Form up defensive screen between Bogey Prime and the Conclave ship. Weapons hot, but fire only if fired upon." The 12 Starwraiths accelerated as one, their formation tightening as they positioned themselves between the two alien vessels. "This is Commander Darius Wright of Earth's United Space Forces," he broadcast on all frequencies. "We demand an immediate cessation of hostile actions in Earth orbit." The only response was another energy beam, this one narrowly missing Phantom 7. The American pilot's cursing filled the comm channel. "Evasive maneuvers," Darius ordered. "Break by pairs and initiate countermeasures." The Starwraiths scattered in practiced precision, deploying electronic countermeasures as they moved. They had trained for space combat against human opponents, other fighters with similar capabilities and limitations. Nothing in their doctrine covered fighting an advanced alien warship. "It's targeting the Conclave ship's propulsion system," Farah observed, her tactical analysis cutting through the chaos. "Trying to cripple it, not destroy it." Darius processed this information rapidly. "They want to strand the Conclave here, force them to abandon their timeline." The attacking vessel suddenly released dozens of smaller objects, drones or missiles, each about the size of a human torso. They moved with impossible agility, curving around the Starwraith's defensive screen. "Incoming," Hassan shouted, "multiple hostiles on intercept course." "Engage the drones," Darius ordered, "standard swarm countermeasures." The squadron's training took over. Laser interceptors fired in coordinated patterns, catching several drones in crossfire. The machines exploded silently in the vacuum, scattering debris that glittered like malevolent stars. "Two down," called Farah triumphantly. "These things aren't invincible." "Don't get cocky," Darius warned, banking his fighter sharply to avoid a drone that had locked onto him. "They're learning our patterns. Switch to irregular evasive maneuvers, Protocol Omega." The squadron adjusted, their movements becoming less predictable. It helped, but not enough. For every drone they destroyed, two more seemed to appear from the attacking vessel. "Phantom 6 is hit." The panicked voice belonged to Lieutenant Rita Sanchez, a rookie on her first deep space deployment. "Systems failing, control surfaces not responding." Darius watched in horror as her Starwraith tumbled end over end, venting atmosphere from a gaping hole in the cockpit. No ejection, no survival in these conditions. "First blood," Farah murmured, a tremor in her voice. "They've drawn first blood." The loss crystallized something in Darius. This wasn't a drill or a peacekeeping mission. This was war, humanity's first interstellar conflict, and they were hopelessly outmatched. But not without resources. "New plan," he announced, his voice cold with determination. "Phantoms 3 through 12 continue defensive screen. Phantom 2 with me, we're going offensive." "Sir?" Farah questioned, but was already falling into position beside him. "If we can't stop all those drones, we take out their source." Darius pushed his fighter to maximum acceleration, plotting an intercept course with the attacking vessel. "Control, we need a diversion, anything you can spare." Admiral Hayes must have been monitoring closely because the response came immediately. "Orbital defense platforms are repositioning. Kinetic bombardment authorized, creating your window in 3, 2, 1. From Earth's orbit, 6 tungsten rods, each 20 feet long and a foot thick, accelerated toward the attacking vessel. Simple weapons, but devastating in their kinetic energy. The alien ship detected the threat and diverted power to its shields, momentarily suspending its drone deployment. "That's our window," Darius called. "Maximum burn now." He and Farah pushed their engines beyond safety limits, their fighters streaking toward the alien vessel like bullets. The kinetic rods impacted harmlessly against some kind of energy shield, but they'd served their purpose, creating a momentary distraction. "Target their launch bay," Darius ordered as they approached. "Concentrate fire on my mark." The alien vessel was massive up close, easily 5 times the size of their fighters. Its surface was covered in what appeared to be weapon emplacements and sensor arrays, all with an angular, aggressive design unlike the smooth contours of the Conclave ship. 3 seconds to optimal range, Farah reported. A two, one, fire. Both Starwraiths unleashed their full payload, high-energy particle beams, conventional missiles, and experimental quantum disruptors. Everything in their arsenal converged on a single point where drones had been launching from the vessel. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, a bloom of blue-white energy erupted from the target area. The alien ship shuddered visibly, listing to one side as secondary explosions rippled across its hull. Direct hit, Farah shouted. We actually heard it. Break off evasive pattern Delta, Darius ordered, already yanking his fighter into a tight turn. Don't give them a clean shot at. A blast of energy caught the edge of his port wing, sending the Starwraith into an uncontrolled spin. Warning indicators flashed across his heads-up display as systems failed in cascading sequence. Phantom lead is hit, he heard Farah call distantly, requesting immediate extraction. Darius fought with his controls, managing to stabilize enough to assess the damage. Life support was intact, but propulsion was severely compromised. He was dead in space. Phantom 2 returned to formation, he ordered. I'll manage. Negatives led, I'm not leaving you. Before he could argue further, his sensors detected movement. The Conclave mothership was moving, extending what appeared to be a tractor beam toward his crippled fighter. Control, he reported, I'm being pulled toward the Conclave vessel. Unknown intentions, stand by. As his fighter was drawn inexorably toward the alien ship, Darius could see the battle continuing around him. The human squadron, despite being outnumbered and outgunned, was fighting with everything they had, protecting not just the Conclave ship but Earth itself from this unknown aggressor. His Starwraith passed through some kind of energy field, and suddenly he was inside the massive alien vessel, his fighter settling gently onto a smooth floor in what appeared to be a hangar bay. Atmosphere flooded the space, readings returning to Earth normal. With no other options, Darius popped his canopy and drew his sidearm, standard procedure for being captured by hostile forces. But as he climbed out of his fighter, he found himself facing not enemies but allies. Naviri, the tall blue alien from the Conclave delegation, approached with several others of its kind. Commander Wright, the alien greeted him, the words forming in his mind. Your bravery is noted. You know my names. We monitor all communications. Your defense of our vessel was unexpected. Darius holstered his weapon. Who's attacking you? What do they want? They are the Krevlax, Naviri explained. A species that failed our test centuries ago. They believe the Conclave's methods are flawed. They prefer conquest to cooperation. So they want us to fail, to be destroyed by the asteroid. No, they wish to offer an alternative path, technology and protection in exchange for resources and servitude. A relationship many primitive species accept, not realizing the long-term consequences. A shudder ran through the ship as another attack hit. Your squadron fights well, Naviri observed, but they cannot prevail. The Krevlax vessel outmatches your technology significantly. Then help them, Darius demanded. You have the power. Direct intervention is forbidden by Conclave protocols. The test must proceed without contamination. Naviri paused, its skin pulsing with what might have been regret. However, there is a consideration. Which is? Your species has demonstrated unexpected qualities. Your willingness to defend those you barely understand at great risk to yourselves suggests potential beyond our initial assessment. Another impact rocked the ship. Theoretical discussions won't save my pilots, Darius said urgently. Naviri seemed to come to a decision. We can offer indirect assistance. Your fighter systems are damaged but repairable. We can enhance them temporarily with enough capability to neutralize the Krevlax threat. You'll upgrade my fighter just like that. The modifications will be temporary and limited, enough to resolve the immediate conflict without providing permanent technological advancement. This maintains the integrity of the test while acknowledging your species' unexpected intervention on our behalf. Darius considered briefly. His squadron was being decimated out there. Earth's defenses were failing. Whatever alien politics were at play, his duty was clear. Do it, he agreed. The next 10 minutes passed in a blur as alien technicians swarmed over his fighter. Systems he didn't recognize were integrated with his familiar controls. His damaged wing reconstructed itself before his eyes, the metal flowing and reforming like living tissue. The enhancements are neural adaptive, Naviri explained as Darius climbed back into his cockpit. They will respond to your intentions rather than manual input. Think of them as extensions of your will. How do I? Darius began, but stopped as information flooded his mind directly through his neural interface. He suddenly understood exactly what his fighter could now do. This isn't temporary technology, he realized. This could change everything on Earth. The physical enhancements will degrade within 6 hours, Naviri assured him. The knowledge of how they function will fade from your memory equally quickly, but their effect on the current conflict will remain. The hangar bay doors opened, revealing the battle still raging outside. The human squadron was down to 7 fighters, all damaged, all fighting desperately against overwhelming odds. Remember, Commander, Naviri's voice echoed in his mind as the canopy sealed. How your species handles this conflict, whether with wisdom or vengeance, is now part of our evaluation. Darius nodded, understanding the added dimension to the test. Then he launched, his enhanced fighter moving with impossible speed and precision back into the fray. Phantom lead to all units, he called. I'm back in the game and I've brought some new toys. His squadron's cheers filled the comm channel as he rejoined the battle, his weapons systems now capable of penetrating the Krevlak's shields. With each successful hit, the attacking vessel's capabilities diminished. But Darius remembered Naviri's parting words. This wasn't just about winning a battle, it was about how they won, what they chose to do with temporary power. All units adjust targeting parameters, he ordered. Disable only target weapons, propulsion, and drone deployment systems. No kill shots on their central hull. Sir, Hassan questioned, we have them on the ropes, we could end this permanently. That's not who we are, Darius replied firmly. We defend, we disable threats, but we don't annihilate an enemy when alternatives exist, even alien enemies. The battle continued for another 20 minutes, but the outcome was now inevitable. The Krevlak's vessel, crippled by precisely targeted attacks, finally powered down its weapons systems. Its engines flared briefly as it began to retreat from Earth orbit. They're withdrawing, Farah confirmed, exhaustion evident in her voice. Let them go, Darius ordered, watching as the alien warship limped away, eventually disappearing in a flash of light that suggested some form of faster-than-light travel. As his squadron regrouped, battered but victorious, Darius felt his enhanced fighter already beginning to change. Systems flickered, performances degraded gradually. The temporary advantage was fading as promised. But something else remained. The knowledge that humanity had faced its first space battle against a vastly superior force and emerged victorious not through technological superiority, but through courage, teamwork, and moral restraint. As they turned back toward Earth, Darius wondered if those qualities would be enough to face what still lay ahead. The asteroid, the Conclave's test, and humanity's place in a galaxy far more complex and dangerous than anyone had imagined. Phantom lead to control, he reported. Hostiles have retreated, requesting permission to return to base. Permission granted, Commander, Admiral Hayes responded, pride evident in his voice. And well done, all of you. The 12 fighters, now reduced to 8, formed up in tight formation and began their descent back to Earth, where leaders of nations stood at the precipice of the most important decision in human history. Behind them, the Conclave mothership shimmered briefly, then resumed its silent watch over the planet whose fate hung in the balance. Director Priya Sharma stood at the center of the Global Defense Initiative's crisis chamber beneath Geneva, surrounded by holographic displays showing the faces of world leaders. After 20 years in international diplomacy, first with the Indian Foreign Service, then the United Nations, she had never imagined becoming humanity's chief negotiator with an alien civilization. The deadline approaches, she reminded the assembled leaders, her voice calm despite the circumstances. We have less than 2 hours to provide our answer to the conclave. The situation has changed, argued the Chinese premier. After this attack by what did they call themselves, the Krevlaks, how can we trust any aliens now? Perhaps they orchestrated this conflict to manipulate us. The Russian president nodded in agreement. For all we know, both factions are testing us, seeing how we respond to their good cop, bad cop routine. Priya suppressed a sigh. Even with extinction looming, old suspicions died hard. The astronomical data has been independently verified by 12 separate agencies, she reminded them. The asteroid exists. Its trajectory will bring it to Earth in 6 months. Without intervention, human civilization will not survive. And we're supposed to believe that these conclave aliens just happened to arrive at precisely the right moment. The Brazilian president shook her head skeptically. Too convenient. Admiral Hayes, still coordinating the defensive response to the recent space battle, joined the conversation. With respect, Madam President, my pilots just engaged in combat to defend the Conclave vessel. Commander Wright reports direct contact with their representatives. They could have destroyed the Krevlak ship themselves but chose not to intervene directly. This aligns with their stated position. They're testing how we handle crises. And their test nearly cost human lives, the US president pointed out. 8 pilots lost in a battle that wasn't even our fight. With all due respect, Priya interjected, it became our fight the moment an alien warship entered Earth orbit with hostile intent. Whatever game the Conclave is playing, the Krevlaks presented a clear and present danger to Earth. The debate continued in circles until a chime interrupted them. On the main screen, a message appeared. The Conclave representatives were requesting permission to address the Global Defense Initiative directly. After a brief, tense discussion, permission was granted. The holographic displays shifted, and the 3 alien representatives, Naviri, Kelthar, and Zuum, appeared in the center of the chamber, their forms translucent but detailed. We acknowledge your confusion and concern, Naviri began without preamble. The Krevlak's intervention was unexpected. Was it, the British Prime Minister challenged, or was it part of your test all along? Kelthar's crimson exoskeleton clicked as it responded. The Krevlaks are known to us. They represent an alternative path of galactic development, one based on hierarchy rather than cooperation. They seek client species rather than allies. And what do you seek? Priya asked directly. Zuum's transparent form shifted, projecting emotions of sincerity and urgency. Understanding, growth, preservation of diversity. The galaxy contains wonders beyond your imagination, Naviri continued. But also threats, species that consume rather than create, forces that destroy indiscriminately. The Conclave exists to nurture civilizations capable of contributing to collective knowledge and defense. So we're being recruited, Admiral Hayes asked bluntly. Evaluated, Kelthar corrected. Your species shows remarkable potential. Your defense of our vessel, despite limited understanding of our nature or intentions, suggests values aligned with Conclave principles. But we must know, will you unite to face the asteroid threat? Naviri pressed. Not just in temporary alliance, but in sustained cooperation. Will you share resources, knowledge, and responsibility equally? The chamber fell silent as the implication became clear. The test wasn't simply whether they would cooperate to divert the asteroid, it was whether that cooperation would continue afterward, whether humanity could transcend its divisive history. We need time, the Indian Prime Minister began, but Zuum interrupted with an emotional projection of urgency and finality. Time is precisely what is lacking. 23 of your minutes remain, Naviri stated firmly. We require your answer. The aliens withdrew their holographic presence, leaving the human leaders to their decision. What followed was the most accelerated negotiation in diplomatic history. Nations that had been adversaries for centuries found themselves drafting agreements in minutes. Resources were pledged, technologies offered, old grievances temporarily set aside in the face of extinction. Priya coordinated it all, drawing on every skill she had developed in her career. When disputes threatened deadlock, she proposed compromises. When egos clashed, she appealed to shared humanity. When time seemed too short, she focused efforts on essential points, leaving details for later resolution. With exactly 2 minutes remaining, she presented the final document, the Earth Unified Response Protocol, to the assembled leaders. This is not perfect, she acknowledged, but it represents our best effort at genuine cooperation. All major nations have equal voice in the asteroid diversion effort. All commit to sharing both burden and benefit. All agree to continued cooperation on global threats beyond this immediate crisis. One by one, digital signatures appeared on the document. Even longtime rivals and adversaries recognized the stakes transcended their differences. As the last signature was confirmed, the Conclave representatives reappeared. We have our answer, Priya announced formally. Earth stands united to address both the asteroid threat and any challenges that follow. We request Conclave assistance according to your offer, and we commit to maintaining the cooperative framework established today. Naviri studied the document, its skin pulsing with what might have been approval. The response protocol is acceptable, it determined. The asteroid will be diverted using a combination of Conclave technology and human implementation. This ensures you develop necessary capabilities rather than becoming dependent on external assistance. Relief flooded the chamber, but Priya remained focused. And beyond the asteroid, what does membership in your Conclave mean for humanity? Kelthar stepped forward. It means guidance without control, access without obligation, protection without servitude. You will develop at your own pace, Naviri added, but with awareness of the larger galactic community and its protocols, your unique perspectives and innovations will be valuable additions to collective knowledge. And you will not face the darkness alone. Zuum's final comment carried emotional overtones of solidarity and shared purpose that transcended language. There is one more matter, Naviri continued. The test has revealed an unexpected quality in your species. Your defense of our vessel, particularly Commander Wright's insistence on disabling rather than destroying the Krevlak ship despite having the capacity to do so, demonstrates ethical consideration typically found only in much older civilizations. We value life, Priya stated simply, even the lives of potential adversaries. This quality, Kelthar observed, combined with your innovative thinking, suggests you may eventually attain a role in the conclave beyond what we initially envisioned. Naviri made a gesture, and a holographic image appeared, a star map unlike any humans had ever seen, showing not just spatial relationships but connections between systems, resources, and apparent travel routes. This section of the galaxy, Naviri indicated an area containing several hundred star systems, has lacked a stabilizing influence since the decline of the Arsanian collective 5,000 years ago. As you develop your interstellar capabilities, the conclave will support your gradual expansion into this region. Admiral Hayes studied the map with a strategist's eye. You're offering us a territory, our own section of the galaxy. Not ownership, Kelthar clarified. Stewardship. Responsibility for maintaining peace, encouraging development, and protecting emerging intelligences within this sector. The implication was staggering. Not just salvation from the asteroid, but a path to becoming a significant power in the galaxy. Why us? Priya asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Surely there are more advanced species available, balance, perspective, potential. Zuum's concepts suggested that humanity's unique combination of traits, cooperation despite diversity, ethical consideration despite limited technology, willingness to defend others despite risk, made them particularly suited for this role. This is contingent, of course, Naviri cautioned, on your continued development. The unity you've demonstrated today must be maintained and strengthened. Regression to divisive patterns would necessitate reevaluation. The warning was clear, but so was the opportunity. We accept this responsibility, Priya stated after a brief consultation with the world leaders, and we recognize it as both privilege and challenge. Then it is settled, Naviri concluded. Technical teams will arrive within 3 of your days to begin asteroid diversion preparations. Cultural and scientific exchanges will commence thereafter. A permanent conclave embassy will be established at a location of your choosing. With that, the representatives departed, leaving humans to absorb the magnitude of what had just transpired.